Welcome to the Mrs. R Relevant Daily Draft Podcast brought to you by the Draft Professors. Today we are joined by Draft Professor Dalton Blackman, Draft Professor Randall Slifer, and we have a great wide receiver show coming up for you in a few minutes. But before we do that, I know that this is, there's a lot of people on holiday. I start my Thanksgiving road trip to Western New York tomorrow morning.
Nice.
So everybody that's watching, we wish you a happy Thanksgiving from the Draft Professors. And if you are traveling, travel safe. Do not be like me where you're driving into a lake effect snowstorm. Right?
Is that what's happening in Buffalo right now?
So, yeah, we're going to Chautauqua, and there is a lake effect snowstorm that's going to arrive Wednesday night through Saturday early morning. And we arrive Wednesday afternoon. We leave Saturday mid-morning. So other than the roads might not be clear, but there may not be snow in the air. So
you'll be okay. It's the first one. It's the second one for Western New York, so you'll be fine.
Yeah. So Dalton, how you doing on this fine Tuesday night?
Too bad, not too bad. It was a fun week of college football. NFL not so much. The Raiders find a new low every weekend. So
I was gonna say, okay, you're a Raiders fan? I know, man. I put so much stock into Geno Smith, and I deleted some tweets.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it was possible to expect it this bad, but it's interesting that apparently Chip Kelly was so bad that teams are now reevaluating whether or not they hire college play callers now.
Oh wow!
I mean, it was so bad. There was a play, if you find it, it was great. The Raiders at one point, they had basically an 8-man protection. And the Browns rushed 4. What do you think the result of that play was?
A Myles Garrett sack.
It was somehow a sack. 8 blocking 4.
That's wild. That's absolutely insane. Yeah.
And so the moral of the story is the Raiders need to draft offensive linemen because apparently the 8 they have aren't enough.
No.
Oh.
Well, I mean, it would help if they actually, played the rookies they drafted.
Hey, Anthony, it's good to see you.
Bruce, I just want to be a little different.
Ryan's in Cincinnati, and I'm leaving Cincinnati tomorrow morning. So, Ryan, welcome to Cincinnati, or welcome to the greater Cincinnati area, and wish you a happy Thanksgiving. Both Ryan and Anthony, happy Thanksgiving to both of you. We have a great group of wide receivers to cover today. Ted Hurst from Georgia State, Casey Concepcion from Texas A&M, Chris Bell from Louisville, Jacoby Lane from USC, Nyck Harbor from South Carolina, Denzel Boston from Washington, Makai Lemon from USC, Jordan Tyson from Arizona State, Carnell Tate from Ohio State, and Randall, with the combination of Andy and Dalton, has gone through about 66 or 67 wide receivers. This is the last group of 9 in that 66. Randall, how many draftable grades do you have on wide receivers right now?
Right now, I actually literally was doing my board right now. I have 35 draftable. 35.
Yep. And I'm making a safe assumption that all 9 of these players are going to be in that list of 35, but that's just a guess.
That is 100% correct.
So we added Ted Hurst from Georgia State. We saw some Twitter chatter. We're like, okay, let's add another player to the podcast. I know from the chat for the podcast that Randall liked him. I talked with Dalton pre-show. It sounds like arrows are up. But Dalton, Ted Hurst, Georgia State, what did you see and what did you like?
So, I mean, big and fast is always a big plus when it comes to wide receivers. You can't coach big and fast. He's got those things down already, which helps. But there's some little things to his game that you really like. to see. He's a hands catcher, and he has really good late hands. Especially that's something that you don't always see at the college level. Especially him playing at a level where he doesn't necessarily need to do those things. Because playing in a Group of 5 school, the competition he's playing, he can dominate pretty easily, but he's still doing the little things. He's also very creative with his releases. He finds a lot of ways to get free. The concerns are very skinny, 6'3", 185. It's just going to be really hard for him to hold up against press at that weight. And he also has very limited experience against high-level competition. So a lot of that stuff, a lot of the concerns aren't showing up on tape yet because we just don't know how it's going to translate. And that's kind of the biggest hurdle with him, is figuring out how to project him. So right now I have him as an early second-round grade.
Okay. Randall, you said in the chat, I think to quote you, you said, add Ted Hurst to the simulator. He's a dog.
Yeah, he is. I had some reports that he was 195, so I'm not sure which is correct. We'll obviously get the weight later on. But absolute burner. I was trying to find some info on what he might be able to run in the 40-yard dash. Some people say that he could run a 4.35. Some people say 4.40. That's very impressive for 6'3", running on that. Pretty high hips. He's got very long legs, but he doesn't have a super long stride, so he can cut really well. His intermediate routes are really good. He cuts in very well. He has a good understanding of zone. He understands to get in blind spots in zone on linebackers. He had a touchdown against Memphis, or I can't remember which one, that got right behind that second level, hid behind a guy, got it, catch and run. That was really impressive. The releases are rough when it comes to 185. You don't see him on tape, as Dalton mentioned, but he does have really quick feet for fire feet at the line of scrimmage, and those long legs can laterally move quickly, so that change of direction, he can win with that without having to deal with physicality. But he is right. Sometimes when it comes to physicality coming off press man, you can see it a little bit, and at the stem, you can see it a little bit. But overall, I really do like Ted Hurst. I need to watch a little bit more of him. There was 4 games available. I watched 3 of them. I'd kind of like to get some more. The competition is kind of rough, but he did have 7 catches for 97 yards and 1 touchdown against Memphis that was fighting for a playoff spot. And then Vandy, he went 7 for 66. So with those bigger competition, he did still show out and do well. The eye test, like when you talked about natural hands catcher, just based on the eye test, it looks like he has absolutely massive hands when he's going after that ball. So he can high point that ball, and he's out of body catcher. He does have a 10% drop rate this year with a 54% contested catch rate, but his fades are insane. Like his fades are really good. His red zone fades are great, and he can high point that ball. Right now, I have him at like the end of round 3, top of round 4, just kind of maybe adjusting a little bit towards what maybe NFL sees coming from Georgia State, but to be determined where he could land, but he's worthy of a top 100 pick.
Okay, so Randall, Ted Hurst, Malachi Fields from Notre Dame. Who do you have higher?
Ted Hurst or Malachi Fields, I do, but they're almost kind of in a similar bucket.
Okay, and then you would have Hurst just over Brennan Thompson from Mississippi State.
Correct. I'm still gonna ride Brennan Thompson until the combine hits and he's like 5'7.5", 170, and then that'll probably go out the window.
Well, you see, and that's also me remembering what your grades were on some of the 64 wide receivers that we've covered. So
that's very impressive.
We're not just doing this. I am your biggest fan, and I am paying attention to about every third word. Okay. KC Concepcion from Texas A&M, 5'11", 190. Dalton, what is your evaluation of Kevin Concepcion?
So I think I had longer notes on him than like any other wide receiver. I don't know why. I just ended up writing like a lot watching his tape because there's just so much that jumps out. The speed and quickness is obviously the first thing that jumps out, and like his ability to make things happen after the catch. That's going to make him a problem in the return game. He's also tough, got a high football IQ though too. And while he might not have great size, he makes up for it with hops. He can really get up there on those 50-50 balls. On 50-50 balls, he might be 5'11", but he plays like he's 6'2". And he also fights really hard for leverage. And he's got because of that high football IQ, he's got a pretty expansive route tree. There's a lot that he can do. I think for me, the concerns are at his size, he is limited to probably more of a slot role. And the long speed is not elite. It's good, but it's not, when you're smaller, you kind of want to see elite speed. And he also just doesn't snap off his breaking routes very well. So that kind of makes it harder for him to take advantage of his speed. And finally, body catcher. That's probably one of the biggest concerns about his play that might get him into some trouble at the next level. But I have a late first-round grade on him. I think he's a really, really solid player.
So, Dalton, any response to Ryan's comment here in the chat?
I mean, I get it. Like, there were just the play is just really hard to get a read on what he's going to be at the next level. Because, I mean, if he's a low-end slot guy, if that's all he really is that also returns kicks, that's not – I don't know if that's necessarily a guy you want to spend a first-round pick on, but you watch the tape and you see how tough he plays, and I just think that I don't see a world in which he isn't extremely productive at the next level. He's going to be limited at at his ceiling, but he's going to be very, very productive.
Randall, where are you on KC Concepcion right now? And I think I already know from following you on Twitter, but for those that don't, and by the way, you need to follow Randall on Twitter, but tell everybody what I think some of us already know.
Yeah, the opposite of Ryan. I am probably higher than most people with KC Concepcion. I love his game. He's my kind of style. I think 5'11", 190. I think he could probably get to 195, and that's all he needs to get up to. I believe in the NFL he can play outside. I think his releases at the line of scrimmage are good enough to play outside, not consistently. In 2025, he's 65% out wide, 35% in the slot. So I think, 25, 75 in the slot, 25% out wide is probably where he will go. But I mean, I think he's a 4-level burner. He's able to rush the ball if he needs to. His screens are good. And then he's good in the short. He's good in the intermediate. And as Dalton said, he's good in the deep. He does have that high vert for high pointing the ball, contested catch it at 5'11". Echo, he's got a full route tree that's really good. I really love his comebacks and hitches. When he runs a hitch, he comes back a yard or two to get the ball to create more separation and then increase his yards after the catch. I love that. Deceleration is bonkers, can stop on a dime. Right now, his stats are 52 catches, 829 yards, and 9 touchdowns. I believe that could have been over 1,100 and over 11 touchdowns if Marcel Reed was a little bit more accurate. There are countless times where he is wide open on go routes that are overthrown, that those would have been easy 50-yard touchdowns. And to echo, just like the Notre Dame game, he was 4 for 82, could have easily had 2 go routes that were overthrown to him. That would have been 150 plus and 2 touchdowns. But to echo with Dalton, I do agree drops are a concern. He does let the ball come into his chest, and that's where the issue is with his. I'm willing to overlook that with who he is, to be honest with you, and he's my wide receiver 2.
Okay, and I'm assuming, Randall, your wide receiver 1 is coming later in the show, right?
That is correct.
Yeah. Okay. So love hearing that. So Randall, that's a true first round grade, NFL starter.
All day.
Right from day one.
Yes. He likes to toy with his defenders too. If he's on the goal line and the ball is not coming to him, he will release at the line of scrimmage on his DB and then point at him if he wins. And I really love that dog in him.
Okay, Chris Bell from Louisville, 6'2", 220. There are some draft professors that really like Chris Bell. So Dalton, tell everybody what you think of Chris Bell, and are you on the side that has him really hot?
I am not. Actually, out of everyone we talk about tonight, he was kind of a distant ninth for me out of this group. I mean, I still have, like, to be clear, still have an early third round grade on him, but I mean, obviously the speed is great. Like, he really does, especially with the ball in his hands, has that if he's even, he's leaving type speed. You know, he just runs by people. That really jumps out on tape. Good hand. He's got good awareness and body control. The alignment versatility is nice. He's got a really good frame, but I'm worried with what I saw on tape. I'm worried he's going to end up getting moved to a pure slot role at the next level, just based on how limited his route tree is, and how he doesn't really do a whole lot on the release to create separation for himself. I mean, I just think, like, he's living off of like 3 routes, and it's hard for me to see how that, and like the projection I have for him is if he hits his absolute ceiling, he could be Michael Thomas at the absolute, and this is an astronomical ceiling, which is Michael Thomas in the right system was very, very productive, right? But then as soon as Michael Thomas lost a step, he was useless, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of my worry with someone like Chris Bell. With he is so limited, and if teams are able, if he's not in the right system, or maybe he's productive for a couple years, but if defenses find a way to take away what he does well, I just don't know what else he can really do other than beat teams on slants for big gains.
So Randall, where are you on Chris Bell?
Yeah, that is, unfortunately, because I know it's not good content, exactly how I feel. I mean, at this point, other than the Michael Thomas, because like in my head, it's like, okay, so could it be a Xavier Legette's having a good year, but is it somebody like Xavier Legette that's going to need time to develop in the league, and then we don't know where his ceiling will be, or does it hit ground running and you become like AJ Brown? Now, I believe that he could be caught. I think he's closer to AJ Brown than Xavier Legette. But again, as Dalton says, what system is he going to go to? Is he going to get the proper training and the proper adjustment so he can develop into AJ Brown? That's my question. I think that there's a high risk coming in and getting Chris Bell, because those slants and those breakaway speeds, there's DBs that have took some bad angles, and then that speed is exemplified more in college than it is in the NFL. And I think that there'll be a small regression when it comes to his breakaway speed. Yeah. See, Ryan should be on this podcast, because then we could have the differing takes on him.
Well,
but
we can invite Ryan on a week from tonight to do the wide receiver big board. So Ryan, if you're listening and you're around next Tuesday, we're doing a wide receiver big board. But carry on, Randall.
But I mean, there's no doubting. I mean, we'll see at the combine, obviously. There's no doubting somebody at 6'2", 220 pounds that could run under a 4.45 is absolutely bonkers when it comes to just being an athlete. He has soft hands on this sideline, which is impressive. Obviously yards after the catch is crazy. The JMU touchdown, even though his JMU was impressive on a slant where he did have that physicality, and he won in that physicality because his releases, you're right, can be rough trying to break through that. So, like, the JMU kind of proved that he could beat that press man in physicality, but it was JMU. He definitely needs to expand his route tree to get a little bit more, get those out routes a little bit better, work on his deceleration and things along those lines. But I'm not going to echo much past that, because I'm kind of on the same page as Dalton. I have him, I believe, as wide receiver 9 or 10 and into the 3rd round.
Okay, couple questions on Chris Bell. Randall, who do you think is more explosive, Chris Bell or Zachariah Branch? I realize they're not the same wide receiver, but I'm simply asking about who you think is more explosive.
I think right now Chris Bell is, but I think Zachariah Branch's skill set and his speed will translate better in the NFL.
Okay. And then Chris Bell or Ian Strong, Dalton, who do you have higher?
So I don't think I've watched Strong very much.
Okay.
But so yeah, I couldn't really tell you. Bell's pretty far up there for me. I mean, like, I have an early third round grade on him, so like I would probably lean Bell, but I haven't really watched enough of Strong.
Okay. So Randall, where is Ian Strong relative to Chris Bell for you?
So I would say Ian Strong would be right above like Ted Hurst, where we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
Like, because he was Ian Strong was in that end of day 2, so right around there. But I would put Chris Bell above Ian Strong.
Okay. Got it. And again, I'm just refreshing my memory to some of the other guys that you said that were late day 2. So
yeah, my board's
okay.
always changing though, Jim. Well, not anymore. Not anymore. I'm almost concrete.
Yeah.
No, and I'm okay if things change. Something.
Yeah. I'm just kidding.
The world as it exists today, I am trying to understand how you're stacking your board, and this gives me more questions to ask when we do the big board next week.
For sure.
Yeah. And I think this position group more than any is probably going to be the one that is most subject to change at the combine.
100%.
I think so there are so many of these guys that, could, what day they're drafted could really hinge on what they run.
Dalton, that's funny. That made me laugh. So Clint Ghost has said that he changes his cornerback board the most after the combine. I think Newt Weston told me he switches his edge board the most after the combine. Ooh. And then Dalton is here saying it's the wide receiver board. So apparently the combine matters. I'm just saying, apparently it matters.
I think when comparing these wide receivers specifically, because we have so many guys that are on the fringe of, we have so many day 2 guys this year, I think. And right now, I think a lot of guys are just kind of getting slotted as day 2 because we have no idea what they're going to run. Some of them are going to run times that vault them into the late first round. And there's going to be other guys that they're like, oh, he runs a 4.6 and he's got average measurables everywhere else. Yeah, he's, I guess, a 6th round pick.
Right. Yep. Like, we're going to talk about Jacoby Lane right now. Like Jacoby Lane, Denzel Boston, Makai Fields, right? They could probably shift themselves in running the gauntlet and their 40 times and stuff like that.
Oh, and for wide receivers last year, I was at Indianapolis the day the wide receivers were running, and I was sitting next to Bill Carroll. Was it Matthew Golden? I'm trying to think. I think it was Matthew Golden, right? Because Matthew Golden ran a faster 40, I think, than people expected. And Bill just said that was $1 million run. He just made himself millions in 4.4 seconds.
Yeah.
Right.
He was
millions,
projected
not just 1 million, but many millions.
Was he projected in the first round before the combine? I can't remember where we were right before. I think he was fringe, that day 2 run, and I think he did get himself into the first round with that combine.
Yeah, I think we probably had him in the first round before that.
Yeah.
But that solidified it.
For sure.
Yeah, but I think that it's funny how I don't remember. I usually remember stuff like that, but I don't on Golden. But Dalton, Jacoby Lane, is your comp for him T. Higgins?
I don't mind that. That's actually a really fun comp for Jacoby Lane. I wonder if Higgins is a little faster. I don't know. It's hard to tell right now with Lane. But Lane was surprisingly fun. I'll say this. Lane was a little closer to the other USC wide receiver we're going to talk about tonight, Makai Lemon, for me than I expected.
Okay.
I am finding my Jacoby Lane notes. So, yeah, I mean, the height, obviously, high football IQ, really, really understands where to be. High points the ball. Again, on top of being 6'4", he also climbs the ladder pretty well. I think the big things so in the red zone, he is just so dominant. But my concerns are with that size, you'd like him to be a little faster. He doesn't really create a ton of separation with his speed down the field. And he's a pretty stiff route runner. So it's kind of hard for him to create separation either way because he doesn't have the speed to back corners off, and he doesn't break off his routes well enough to create the separation off the break. So he's really doing it all right now with size in terms of catching the ball. And I just don't know how well that's going to translate at the next level. But I still have a second round grade because he's big, athletic, and he's a smart football player.
Okay. Randall, the first USC wide receiver we were covering today, but he is not the last. What do you have in Jacoby Lane?
Yeah, definitely agree with that. I wish that there was a stat I wish a website had a stat where it'd be like, how many DPIs did you collect as a wide receiver? Because I feel like Jacoby Lane collects so many DPIs. It's crazy. He had 3 defensive pass interference against Notre Dame, 2 against Oregon. And they are like, it is weird because I 100% agree with Dalton. Like, he doesn't have the long speed. His stem work is average. He can like, as long as he's going full speed and he breaks into a skinny post or a skinny fade, he can keep fluid and keep going and definitely create separation on there. But there's a lot of times where I just see cornerbacks going into a trail technique and then just pulling them down and just collecting those DPIs. But I do agree his route running is pretty stiff. At that stem work, it's hard for him to decelerate much to go in and out. As long as he can make it like as a crosser, he's good to keep his fluid running. That's where he's at best. Contested catches are super impressive, basketball-esque, where he just possesses the athletic ability and size. As he said, red zone's really good. He has this like modified whip route where he likes to shown in, but instead of decelerating and coming back in a whip route, he just kind of folds over and rolls over into his whip route so he can create leverage, have his DB in his back, and then you just kind of catch it like Mike Evans-esque. I do really like that because it seems like that'll translate to the NFL, especially in his size at 6'4", 200 pounds. But, he's got the contested catch at 50%. I wish it was a little bit higher. He's got good yards per route run at 2.37 for an outside X. I have a third on him. I basically have him paired up with Malachi Fields. Similarly, I like Malachi Fields a little bit better because I think his high pointing and his size profile is just a little bit better than Jacoby Lane, but they're almost like back-to-back for me.
Okay. Next player. Out of the 9 players in this list, I think there's a really good chance Nyck Harbor goes back to school. But at the same time, we're covering him because he is good enough to be covered. 6'5", 235 pounds. We were mocked during the summer when Greg Rector, myself, and a couple of other draft professors suggested that he switch to defensive end. That didn't go over well on YouTube. There were numerous comments, not just one. But Dalton, Nyck Harbor, the South Carolina wide receiver. What did you see and what did you like?
So, I mean, his size speed combo, it's 99th percentile is the easiest way to put it. I mean, he is at the absolute peak of everything you want in terms of height, weight, speed. I mean, the only guys close to him in the last 25 years, there's really only 3. And I think this tells the whole story about Nyck Harbor. There's Calvin Johnson, there's DK Metcalf, and then, oh my God, I'm blanking on his name, Notre Dame guy. Oh my gosh. Why am I blanking on his name?
Notre Dame at a wide receiver it's not Tim Brown's.
No, this was just a couple years ago. He's already, I think he might even be out of the league now. He's
Claypool?
Yeah, Chase Claypool. Sorry.
Okay, sorry. I was thinking a little further back.
Yeah. Chase Claypool. Those are the only 3 guys really with this size and speed profile. And I think that tells the entire story about Nyck Harbor. Because, I mean, everything about him screams this is DK Metcalf. I mean, he's very raw, but he's made significant improvements. He does the little things well. He's only 20, which is crazy, which is kind of why I think, like, if you're an NFL scout, you kind of overlook how raw he is just because how young he is, and new to football because he was focusing on track for so long. I mean, the route, I mean, he's super linear as a route runner. His route tree is limited. I mean, and also he's not as effective after the catch as you'd think. He doesn't really play up to his speed because he's still processing everything. And this is the worry. Just saw it in the comments. Is he Claypool? And I mean, that's kind of the thing that I think worries people about him. And it's fair. I have a second round grade on him because he is super raw, but I still think he should come out this year because if he runs low 4.3s, he's going in the first round because 6'5", 235, that kind of speed, and you're only 20. I mean, he could have never played wide receiver before and gone in the first round.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Randall.
I mean, yeah, DK Metcalf is it, like bigger, stronger DK Metcalf, which is crazy to think because, you know, DK Metcalf is DK Metcalf. I agree. I think that he should declare. I mean, word on the street is that he's young and he wants to go where Lenora Sellers goes in a transfer sort of thing. So that's fine. I appreciate that on a human being level. Like, if you want to go have fun with your dog and collect some nil money in Miami, you know, if it's Miami, like, go do it. Like, go have fun, right? Like, so, yeah, I do. I personally think that that's exactly what's going to happen. I know that they have a really strong bond, so I think that they can work on it. And then then Nyck Harbor gets to clean up some of that nuance in his route running. And I do agree with Dalton, you know, 4 touchdowns in the past 4 games. And he is running a little bit more nuance in his route running, finding that blind spot when he's running the go routes and stuff like that. I wish South Carolina used him a little bit better. I think that you could. Like, he doesn't play to his full speed, but I do believe that more manufactured touches can kind of get him going a little bit, and then threatening the deep a little bit more would allow him to decelerate on hitches and outs without getting right in front of him. But, I mean, I agree. I mean, if his decision is he wants to stay in school, like, go do it because you're 20 years old. But I do think that there's not much more that college can do other than getting his nuance down. Realistically, like, I watch him, and he just looks so mismatched when he's on the field that regardless if somebody's on him, like in my head, I'm watching, I'm just go, throw it. And then the next play, I'm like, throw it. Next play, I'm like, throw it. Just throw it. See what happens. Because I'm pretty sure that, you know, he will get those balls. So the mismatch is absolutely insane. And then I was trying to figure out where I was going to put him. And then I thought, you know, DK Metcalf went at the end of the second. And I think that he could be just as good as DK Metcalf, and he's faster and stronger. So I put him as a mid-second round, just based on his traits and who he is. 20 years old, he can get it done. I think his stats would be higher if South Carolina's offensive scheme was not great and their offensive line was awful. I think he could have probably broke 1,010 this year and probably put him in it. But, I mean, you can't hate it. He just looks so out of place as a wide receiver because he mismatches against everybody that he just looks NFL caliber. It's insane. Definitely, he won't be the 1% probably because he focused on track. He won't be the 1% peak that he is, but I think you can get something better than DK Metcalf out of him.
Yeah. So Shane, it's great that you stopped by. And Shane earlier in the comments said he hasn't really watched the draft class yet. Shane, I actually think Nyck Harbor would be a really good first wide receiver to watch because which players you rank ahead of him and which players you rank behind him is likely going to define a lot of your board. And we knew this even coming out of the summer. He was almost like an automatic watch for everybody in summer scouting. Like, have you seen Nyck Harbor yet? Was like, you know, everything that we were mentioning in our group chat in June and July. I would definitely say Harbor is a must watch. Not a must watch because you're going to like him, but a must watch because you need to see the explosiveness that everybody is talking about. And when you watch South Carolina play, it is like he's a man among boys. Like the speed difference between him and the players trying to cover him is significant. The difference is significant. So,
yeah, last thing on him, like I think the thing that's crazy is especially about the decision of whether or not he comes out this year. If you dropped him on an NFL field tomorrow, teams would have to double or shade a safety to him on every play. Like that's
100%. Yep.
Even with how much he needs to develop, like very, very worst case scenario, you just send him down the field on every play, and it really disrupts everything a defense does because they have to account for that.
Right. And that's like first round qualities, even though he's so raw. It's like, it's so hard to figure out. Like NFL teams have to sit there and be like, okay, we're just going to take a flyer on him. And now, like, where NFL teams will start to get nervous, like, what other 31 teams see Nyck Harbor, and should we take a stab at him now because we won't get him next round, sort of thing? Like, that will be the biggest conundrum because it's kind of like an Anthony Richardson for the wide receivers, right? Like, the athletic profile is so substantial. But for Nyck Harbor, playing wide receiver, you can be more of just an athlete, an insane athlete, and succeed quicker than you could as a quarterback.
So Nyck Harbor, Randall, do you think he's top 50?
Yeah. As I said, the only logic I have right now is that DK Metcalf was a late second, and I think he could be better than DK Metcalf if he puts it all together. So mid-second, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like looking at my crystal ball about whether or not Harbor declares. Do you think he can get into the top 50 with next year's wide receiver class?
Yep.
He could be a first rounder next year.
Yep.
I mean, he could be a first rounder this year. That's the thing.
Right. And that's what I mean. Is that if we're saying that his stock, like what I'm trying to say is that this might be as high as his stock can get because there's going to be inertia next year. You get, Jeremiah Smith, maybe Ryan Williams, who's the
Cam
guy?
Coleman.
Deuce.
Cam Coleman.
Deuce from Florida State. Robinson, thank you. I forgot his last name. But right now, next year's wide receiver class is actually profiling to be better than this year's. And this year's, it's pretty good. So that was something that was popping into my head.
Yeah, right now I have a very vaguely a first on the first three that you mentioned, not on Deuce Robinson. But, you could have 5 wide receivers in the first round. That's more than fine. Just Nyck Harbor, depends on where he goes. But I would think that he could slide himself into wide receiver 2 if we're clumping those 5 wide receivers right now very vaguely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Owen texted me a couple of days ago. He's like, where's Denzel Boston grading? So Owen's a Washington fan. He'll be podcasting at 9. And he hasn't really taken a look at the wide receivers since the summer. I said, well, you'd have to ask Randall because we're covering them on Tuesday, so I'll be able to kind of fill you in later. But Dalton, what did you think of Denzel Boston from Washington?
So Boston, I liked a lot. I don't know if I liked as much as some of the hype I was seeing right before watching him. But I mean, he's 6'4", 209, like that kind of speed or that kind of size. I usually gravitate towards bigger receivers, especially with him having that at least above average speed for somebody his size. And while it's not blazing speed, it's good enough to push the ball down the field, and he's great on those contested catches. So he doesn't have to necessarily create a ton of separation with his speed because he's going to bully guys on those contested catches. He's got really good hands, tough blocker, strong, high football IQ. You can move him around a lot because of that. He really kind of understands how to play a variety of spots. But there's some limitations to his route running. Change of direction's not very good. That's kind of the biggest thing with him. And I think the speed is, like I said, above average. And I think that kind of limits his ceiling. I think he is, I think I have a late first round grade, and pretty much the way I look at wide receivers, anyone that I have a late 1 grade is usually a guy that I think their ceiling is probably more of a 1A type receiver than maybe a true number 1, because there's only maybe 8 to 12 true number 1s in the league. The rest of the guys are 1As that would complement another guy like really well. Like, for example, a guy that's had a long career as a 1A was like Amari Cooper, for example. Not quite a wide receiver 2, but if he's your best guy by far, you don't have a great wide receiver room. But if you have somebody similar to him, you have a really good setup. And I think that's kind of where Boston falls in. Not the same player, obviously, but the same level of receiver.
So Dalton, I'm going to steal that. So Buffalo doesn't need everybody eats. We need 2 1As.
Yeah, that's exactly what we need, by the way. We need Ayuk and then whoever we're going to draft, by the way. But I digress. But yeah,
already out on Keon Coleman?
I guess
Is
so.
it over already?
We just signed Brandon Cooks. Let's see if he's healthy and active on Sunday. Then that's the biggest placeholder, because the Thursday, it makes sense on a short week. You make him out another healthy and active. Now on a 10-day rest, if he's a healthy and active, we sign Brandon Cooks. That is the answer for sure.
Okay, so Randall, where are you on Denzel Boston from Washington?
Yeah, I'm actually a little bit lower on that as well, because the contested catches are absolutely monster. Like, he's such a good contested catch monster, incredible hands, great ball locating, basketball styles we talked about, 66% contested catch this year on 9 opportunities, and then he was 55% last year on 22 opportunities. So he had a lot of contested catch opportunities in 2024. He only has 1 drop this year, which is great. My only concern is that I think contested catch might be a situation where that is the least translatable to the NFL when you're going up against constant dogs in the NFL. So that's where I'm a little nervous about how much that'll drop off. But he's a do-it-all athlete. He's a kick returner. He's a punt returner. He can be used in the rushing. He's got decent short route running. He's got good intermediate route running. He's a deep threat. He's a good blocker, and he has a passing touchdown this year as well. So he's legitimately can do it all when it comes to it in all facets. Weirdly enough, like when you look at his targets, with Demond Williams Jr., dog of a quarterback, but he's at 5'11", and he's had a lot of his targets tipped. So, like, that reception rate's not accurate for him. He's got a good reception rate. He's got decent nuance to his route running. When it comes to his double moves, he uses his head to his full capacity and his shoulders, which I like really well to create some separation in those vertical routes, because the long speed is questionable. Top tier, as Dalton said, top tier in zone IQ. Really gets to his spot and sits and knows, like, creates a lot of it's not separation, but really finds the right spot to be further away from all DBs to create more yak, which is great. But my knock is the limited route tree. I do believe that he is a little bit shifty enough. His deceleration's not great, but I think he can open up his route tree. I don't think Washington really makes him do it, but I do think he can add to his route tree if he'd like to. Long speed questionable. Press man can be inconsistent, but he can handle it when it comes to physicality. I have him as my wide receiver 8, sandwiched in between Omar Cooper Jr. and Chris Bell.
He's 6 for me, so we're pretty close.
Yep. We were seeing people draft him in the 10s, I think, today. So I'm with you on that.
Okay. It's starting to get a little juicy. Makai Lemon from USC, 5'11", 195. Dalton, you said he was closer to Lane than you thought Lane would be. What did you see out of Lemon?
So, yeah, I mean, and to be clear, like, late 1 grade for Lemon and Lane is like a 2nd round grade. So they're not that far off. But I think for me, like, obviously the start with the positives, the burst, smooth route runner, so dangerous after the catch. He's going to be, those things are going to make him very productive, I think. He's also going to give you a lot in the return game. He's got good long speed, good hands, willing blocker too, which is really important since he's going to play in the slot more at the next level. I've said it a lot on the last couple of weeks. If you're going to be a pure slot guy in the NFL, you have to be able to block. And he at least is willing to do it. However, his strength he needs to get a little stronger, and his blocking technique itself isn't great. But I mean, he's still really, really good at everything and blocks well enough. I think that you can tolerate having him out there. I think my biggest concern with him is the Lincoln Riley offense is really simple. And it's just hard to figure out how big of a route tree he's going to have. And this is where, one of the biggest rules of thumb with scouting is just because you didn't see a guy do it doesn't mean he can't do it. But we don't know. We just don't know how much of a route tree he's going to have. And I think there's just going to be a learning curve. So I think he has a really high ceiling in the NFL. But right away, I think I don't think he's going to be a guy that's going to immediately be catching 80+ balls a year from his rookie season on. I think it's going to be 2-3 years down the line where he really breaks out. Late first round grade. He is currently, though, he's my wide receiver 3 in this class.
Okay. Randall, where are you on Makai Lemon?
Yeah, pretty similar. Reports of like 4.48 speed, which is solid for 5'11", 195. He's got over 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns, so the production is clearly there. He can play out wide, but he's going to play in the slot in the NFL. He's got 3.24 yards per route run, which is super impressive. I'd probably say that he has the best hands in this class when you combine it with his ability to catch the ball in the middle of the field, catch it in traffic, and all of the above. He's only got 3 drops in the past 2 years, and he is catching balls in the middle of traffic with people in his face, always 100% focused on the ball, and that's super, super impressive. He does need to open up his route tree, and he definitely can do it, as Dalton said. He shows a whip route every once in a while, but they don't make him do it. I think he can improve on that. I think he can have Z-type qualities while playing in the slot as well with his motion to drags and things along those lines he can work on. His deceleration is above average, but not dynamite. He has a good understanding of reading defenses. He can run choice routes and top-notch at finding zones and soft spots in zone. Yeah, we talked about the blocker. My concern, the Notre Dame game, it was basically a true matchup. It was him versus Leonard Moore for the majority of the game. And to be honest, Leonard Moore won most of that game, and Leonard Moore will be going in the draft. So that was a very good game to watch to see what he's going to go up against an NFL caliber cornerback. And in my personal opinion, I believe Leonard Moore won that. I believe Makai Lemon had 1 catch over 10 yards on a slant that he did burn him on a good release. But then his other big catch that he had, I think he had 60 yards or somewhere in Notre Dame. But then his last catch was against Christian Gray, which he burned, and that was for about 35. So between him and Leonard Moore, there was only 1 catch that he had. So I gave that nod to Leonard Moore, and I did kind of keep that as a note consistently that could be something that we see in the NFL if he can't get through. Someone like that. So overall, I have him as a wide receiver 4. I think when it comes to route running, in the round 1 wide receivers that I have, I think he is at the number 4 spot. So I think you can kind of figure out who my 1, 2, 3, 4 are, but I have him as a late first round wide receiver 4.
Okay. It's interesting. So I love what both of you guys said on Lemon. There was a Sunday Draft Professor podcast that covered Lemon. And Randall, they actually hit on what you just said with what you said about Lemon versus Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They were lower on Lemon than both of you. Not by much, but they're saying that, there's a difference between being a good college wide receiver and being an NFL prospect. And there may be prospects that people will like better than Lemon because you can take Lemon out of a game. You can cover, like you were pointing out, that Notre Dame was able to put a high caliber corner on him, and Lemon was neutralized.
Yeah.
And they said that shows up on film. So
it does, but I don't think his hands, his ability to catch in traffic, and his contested catch actually probably will transfer to the NFL. The way how he's so fearless in the intermediate and deep. So I think that is something huge for him. But yeah, I mean, there's tape to prove that as well.
Okay. So 2 more receivers to go. Some people have Jordan Tyson as wide receiver 1. 6'2", 200. He is the second to last wide receiver we are covering. Dalton, what did you think of Jordan Tyson?
So, not my wide receiver 1. He's 4 for me, but I love the acceleration. He's a willing blocker, tough runner after the catch, also has the vertical speed. I think, there's so much that he can do, which is really nice because you can move him around. He can burn you on the outside, but you can also work underneath and do a lot there after the catch. Good route runner. The drop rate, is still a concern, but it's getting a lot better. But I still don't like that tendency of letting the ball get into his body. And also when he does try to catch the ball outside his body just with his hands, that's kind of where he tends to have some drops. So I think that's kind of the worry. I don't know if he's confident catching the ball with his hands. And you can't really let it get into your body at the next level because you're going to just invite so many more PBUs. And I think the biggest concern is the injuries, though. The injuries are really starting to stack up. And I think, his frame is just, not great. His strength. The kind of slighter frame shows up a little bit against press. It's just hard to really get a read on how good he's going to be at the next level. He might just be a good college receiver, but I have a late first grade on him. But it has dropped going into the season. I think it was a mid first grade and right on the border of top 10 earlier in the season, but the injury didn't help, but the tape also has dropped him a little bit for me.
So Randall, where are you on Tyson right now?
Yeah, very similar. Talk about the injuries. I was really hoping that he would get through this year without an injury. Mind you, it's just a hamstring, right? But a full season would have been stellar for his final year. And obviously, a hamstring is a hamstring, but we're just kind of piling up on those injuries. But I mean, his route running is top notch. Better, in my opinion, a little bit better than Makai Lemon's. He is wide receiver. Jordan Tyson's wide receiver 3 for me. He's a natural separator on all levels and can burn DBs. His short route running is quick and twitchy. Created 4 yards of separation on a quick slant just using his releases with his fire feet and his hesitation to show fades and move in. Super impressive. Great in the red zone threat with his releases. He sells fades into outs and creates good separation to get to the front pylon. Good zone IQ, runs routes in zone to attempt to get as free as possible to sit, uses deception to ensure the safety stays back, and then hits his hitch to make sure he can sit and be away from everybody. He's got good ball locating skills. He can high point the ball, but that is where his drops can come in. Constantly gets safety attention and double teamed. I'm very curious, as we talked about, with his long speed, with his overall speed, but you can see his explosion matched with his above average speed. Rumor is it's 4.45. I hope he runs a 4.45. I think that'd be much better for him. But if a wide receiver, if a DB can attach to him and press man, he can kind of run and dictate his route. I've seen that multiple times. So that can be an issue, especially going in the NFL. That's where you limit his separation, and there's kind of a playbook for him. Overall, I have him as my wide receiver 3. I have him as a mid to late first round. I don't know if, for me, based on his injury history and his lighter frame, as we talked about, trying to win and press man, that I would take him from 10 to 19, but I'd certainly take him from 20 to 32.
Yep. And if we could dive in and make a couple more comments on the injury history. So Jordan Tyson has missed time, I believe, in at least 3 seasons with injuries. Right?
All of 2023, right? With the ACL.
Right. So he missed all of 2023. Didn't he miss games last season in 2024 as well?
Collarbone.
Yeah. And
Yep.
now this year it's a hamstring. So it's not the same injury.
But
right. It hasn't been the same injury each of the 3 seasons. But that's the injury history that Randall and Dalton were alluding to.
Yes.
So one question that I asked about Tyson on Sunday, but we didn't come up with a good answer. Do we know or can we think of a wide receiver that went in round 1 that missed time in 3 different seasons to the level that Tyson has?
Oh. Round 1.
Right. So clearly the tape is there. I mean, Tyson was many people's wide receiver 1 coming into the season. And, we're covering Carnell Tate next. It's not a big secret who Randall's wide receiver 1 was. But I'm curious if we're going to see Tyson drop out of round 1 based upon injuries.
Definitely possible. Trying to think. Did Mike Williams maybe years ago? Didn't he miss a fair amount of time with injuries?
Yeah, that might be a good one.
Okay.
Nice snag. Yeah, good snag.
See, and that's Dalton digging deep because I was sitting here thinking, and I'm like,
I couldn't get anybody.
Go back a ways.
Yeah.
Well, so usually if a player is nicked up, and we saw it last year with Benjamin Morrison, Savon Ravel, right? Randall, I know that last year Morrison and Revel, I remember you having first round grades on both, but then the injuries knocked them out of round 1.
Yeah, they were both didn't play in the year, like the full year, basically. Ravel tore his ACL super early, correct? Like game 2 or game 3. And then Benjamin Morrison had the hip that he sat out for to get ready for it. So people made a mistake on Benjamin Morris, I'll tell you that much.
Yeah. That was wild. I watched him drop and I could not believe it.
No, I still had an early second on him, like take him sort of thing.
Yep. So my hot take is that I think the injury history of Jordan Tyson is going to knock him out of round 1.
It could. Speed was my kind of question, and that's where it limited his separation. So I'd be curious. I think if he runs a 4.50, that could stir a little trouble too.
Okay.
Yeah.
The last player of the day, wide receiver U, otherwise known as the Ohio State University, Carnell Tate, 6'3", 195. Dalton, what did you think?
I mean, the tape's fantastic. I mean, there's not a lot to complain about. He is my wide receiver 1. Right now, I mean, the route running is just devastating. I mean, he puts people in a blender at times, and he accelerates really well, and he combines that with some great releases. I mean, he just does all these things well. He's a good blocker too. He has good hands. Even all those little things that he does. And that's a good one. For Tate, there's so much to like, and then he's only 20 right now. I mean, it's incredible how good he is, how young he is. He is probably the closest I have to a top 10 grade. Right now I have a mid-first round grade. He is right on the fringe. It'll depend on what he runs to the combine. If he runs really well, he might vault into that top 10 range for me. Because right now, one of my big knocks is the long speed is just okay, and he is a little skinny. But again, that's because he's young. He's going to bulk up. And he's not doing a ton after the catch right now. Just kind of, he's kind of more of a possession receiver in a lot of ways. But for me, I'm still trying to figure out if he's gonna be a true number one or not. That's kind of why, like, he just kind of he kind of almost projects as more like a George Pickens type, where if he's your number one, like, he can be, and that's okay. But if he's like your 1A, it's really, really awesome. So yeah, I have a first round grade on Carnell Tate right now.
Okay, Randall, wide receiver 1, Carnell Tate. Tell everybody why.
Yeah, I have 2025 George Pickens, because that's exactly kind of how he runs routes just like him, and Cowboy and George Pickens opened up because he had CeeDee Lamb next to him, and that's why he's being so dynamite this year. And I don't think that's anything bad, to be honest with you. I think that's where the NFL's going, is more 1As instead of just having a solid one and then having to get wide receiver 3s past that. So I think that's where the direction's going. So I love Carnell Tate. I don't know if this is hot take or not, but I think he's the best from last year and this year. I would put him at number 1 last year as well. Ahead of Ted McMillan for sure. So I think he's the best receiver in the past 2 years. Love him. His best double moves in the last 2 years. High school reported 32.5-inch arms and gigantic hands. His contested catch will translate to the NFL, and it is at 92% this year, which is crazy. He's great in zone. He's great in man. Polished routes with the routes he runs, methodical in the steps. Intermediate and deep routes are well. His deceleration is solid at 6'3", 195. Natural separator. Can be used in motions as an outside X, so he has the ability for motions and drags or motions in intermediate routes, which is impressive. He's a decent blocker, and with his long arms and his big hands, he can block as well. So that's a huge plus. The 40 time will be interesting. That long speed is questionable, and then obviously he's such a good contested catcher is that you can barely kind of notice it. But his double moves are so sleek, and he really does a good job. One of the best in this class and last year's class of getting the DB to flip his hips and know exactly when he flips his hips to turn direction real quick to get him burned. And that's how he can separate really well on those vertical routes. Yeah, I mean, he's my wide receiver 1. Unfortunately for Buffalo, he's a top 10 pick for me and best receiver in the past 2 years.
Do you think Tate could go number 1 overall to the Titans?
No.
So you see him in the top 10, but not going first overall?
Yeah, I mean, positional value, because you're looking at the ability. He's not, as Dalton said, he's not just a one by himself sort of thing. I do believe he's that 1A. And then, I would rather, in positional value, take Reuben Bain.
Fair. Okay, so we have now covered about 66 wide receivers on podcasts. Randall, do you want to remind the audience of who your top 5 wide receivers were?
Correct. It is Carnell Tate, Kevin Concepcion at 2, Jordan Tyson at 3, Makai Lemon at 4, and Elijah Surratt at 5.
Okay. And Dalton, how about you? Who are your top 5?
So I got Tate at 1. I have Surratt at 2, and then Lemon at 3, and Jordan Tyson at 4, and then Concepcion at 5.
Okay. And
Close.
Dalton, all 5 of those first round grades?
What's that? Sorry.
Well, all 5 of those first round grades for you?
Yes, I have. Yeah. And then my first round grades stop after 6 with Boston.
Got it.
I'm going to be
Randall,
brave.
I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. I said I'm going to be as brave as you, and I'm going to end up putting Surratt at least in top 3 for me, because I do love him so much. My only, I guess the small concern is he's not just a crazy explosive wide receiver, but I believe that Surratt is the highest floor. If you look at Tampa Bay and what Emeka Egbuka is doing in Tampa Bay, you want that as an NFL, right? He's going to step into an NFL field and play.
Yep. Okay. Well, Dalton, do you want to tell everybody about the Raiders content that you make and the other content that you have?
Yeah, so you can catch a lot of my writing over on the Raider Ramble. I do, a lot of this weekly stuff on the Raiders and the AFC West in general. I'm going to start getting into more draft content here, especially Raiders mock draft season is very much underway at this point. Kind of been that way for a month, but now we're really getting into it. And then I also do some podcasting over at Degenerate Sports Network. You can catch our betting show on Wednesdays at 9:30. And we will be, once the NFL season ends, we will be starting our draft show on that channel as well.
Okay, Dalton, I have a question. Is that an arcade game that is behind your left shoulder?
Behind my left shoulder? No, I think. Oh no, this is just my shelf in my office. I got my lacrosse helmet and my globe up there.
I got it. It looked like it was an arcade game.
It's got that boxy look. Now that you say it, I can see it.
It does. I was going to ask what arcade game it was, but apparently that was just going to be the wrong question. Randall.
At Randall Slifer. You can find me on Twitter. I try to respond to everybody as well as on Blue Sky. Obviously, Draft Professors on Tuesday. And then, once we're getting the college season over, all of those podcasts ramp up. So hopefully I'll do more with Draft Professor. I also write for Arkansas Razorbacks and Buffalo Bills with Team MBS Media. I do their NFL Draft Central that will be starting at the end of the playoffs that go for a couple weeks, that go till the draft, which is great. We podcast throughout the whole entire time. And then I also do a Buffalo Bills podcast with Do Champions on Mondays at 8:30, 7:30 Central. Dalton, how often did you play lacrosse? I'm from the Northeast, so I love it.
I'm right near not Syracuse. Much anymore. I coach and nice. Men's league in the summer. That's about it.
That's awesome. I just enrolled. We're enrolling my 6-year-old into his first lacrosse league. I'm so jacked up for it. Yeah,
that'll be fun.
Are you coaching or just watching him play?
No, the one things I can't coach. All my friends were hockey and lacrosse guys, so I learned all that through my buddies, like just doing open skate and stuff. And then I didn't play in high school, so that's something that I probably could try with 6-year-olds, but a little nervous.
Throwing and catching. That's all they need.
Throwing and catching. Yeah,
Oh, well, thank you for stopping by for everybody watching. Give Randall and Dalton a follow. We can't make this content without Randall and Dalton. So I want to give my appreciation for both of them. Very thankful that both of you are involved with Draft Professors. I know, Dalton, you jumped in for Andy when Andy's life got chaotic and he couldn't podcast anymore. I definitely appreciate you stepping in. Next week, Randall and Dalton will be doing their wide receiver big boards. Ryan Sparks, I tried to find you on X. I didn't know which one was used. So make sure you tag me in a tweet or something so I can find you in the Twitter abyss, I think is the right way to say it. And I want to give a moment to plug the Draft Professor Simulator. There is no simulator like it. I designed it, and the way Draft Professor works is that if Dalton goes in and does a mock draft for the Raiders, and then Randall goes in and does a mock draft for the Bills, and then I go and do a mock draft for any of the other teams, there's a good chance I'm going to see Randall's picks go to Buffalo, Dalton's picks go to the Raiders. So in effect, fans are mock drafting against other fans, even if you're not logged in at the same time. So that's how I designed the algorithm. And it's different. You're going to see a lot more randomness in rounds 3 through 7 than you will on any other simulator. And that was by design, right? That's not an accident. I just want to make it clear. You may come and use the simulator 2 different times, and you're going to be like, well, those mocks weren't anything alike. And that's the idea.
Mm-hmm.
That's the idea. That's what we want. That's the experience I wanted people to have when they used it. So
that's what day 2 and the actual draft is like.
Yeah.
You never know what's going to happen.
It's funny. It's funny, right? Because, there's a lot of other simulators that I've used where it's like I can predict who's always going to be there at the end of round 1. And I'm like, well, the draft is never that predictable. So,
Preach.
I designed a different way. I'm not saying it's better. I'm telling you that's the way that it is. I'm not saying it's better. I'll let you decide what type of simulator you like. But I wanted to give a plug for the Draft Professor Simulator then. For Randall Slifer, Dalton Blackman, myself, and the 110 people at the Draft Professor, Thank you so much for tuning in. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and we will see you on a podcast again on Sunday morning. Thank you, everybody.